Uhuru. Next we have up Philip Pumphery, friend of Congo. Paul Pumphery, friend of Congo. He'll be doing a discussion on the war on Congo and Haiti. Uhuru.
Good afternoon. When we look at the country of Haiti and the country of the Congo, I think you can probably begin to see a number of similarities, and I will try to share some of those similarities. The Congo is probably the richest country in the world when you look at its natural resources. And I'm going to just name some of them. The Congo's mineral wealth is estimated to be between 23 and 24 trillion dollars. It also has the second largest rainforest in the world. It has large deposits of natural gas and oil. And it also, because of its rainfall, just the power of the Congolese River can produce the situation where you can put hydroelectric dams that will meet the electric needs of the whole continent of Africa, along with Portugal, Spain, Italy, Greece, Turkey, and half of the Middle East. And that's without even burning one chunk of coal or one drop of oil. The other thing that's really significant about the Congo is two of its minerals, one of them being cobalt. Cobalt is essential to build armored metal like armored tanks or whatever. And there's only basically two places in the world that has cobalt. One is Russia, and the other one is the Congo. And the second mineral is coltan. Coltan is essential for sophisticated electronics. When we say sophisticated electronics, all cell phones, or iPods, all PlayStations, X games, anything of sophisticated electronics has coltan in it. And 80% of the coltan in the world is known to be in the Congo. So essentially, if from the perspective of the US government and US corporate interests, if they don't control the Congo, they cannot armor their war machine, and the electronic industry comes to a screeching halt, or run the jeopardy of coming to a screeching halt. So one can understand from their perspective of why the US policy is very much focused in Africa around the Congo, even though there's very little discussion over the news media about the Congo. In 1996, Slick Willie, Bill Clinton, started a war in the Congo to so-called protect US interests, which is basically control over the mineral resources of the Congo, and to guarantee that they would get access to those resources at a cheap price. But it wasn't a very cheap price for the people of the Congo, because since 1996, it's an estimate of well over 6 million people have lost their lives. And we have to look at what we're talking about here. We're talking about only, the minerals are only in 1/6, which is the eastern part of the country. And Bill Clinton, to prepare for that war, carried on another war just next door to the Congo in a country called Rwanda. in which over 800,000, some people say as high as 1 million people lost their lives. Another 2.5 million people went into exile from Rwanda. And then he had the audacity to turn around and say he didn't know anything about the war. Well, if anybody knows anything about how the White House operates, the CIA meets with the president every day and gives an update on what's going on in the world. So there's no way even 5,000 people could lose their lives without that being reported to the president. But again, he was using that to put an army in control of the United States, to join up with the army from Uganda, to remove Mobutu, who the United States had put into power after the killing of Patrice Lumumba. And this was done because Mobutu was greedy, and the U.S. corporations said, well, we don't need you anymore. The Cold War is over with. We're going to move on to somebody else that we can control. At least they thought so. And so they came in and they installed a leader by the name of Kabila. Now, this gentleman came into office after working in Tanzania, running a bar, and he was made head of state in the Congo. But after he saw what was going on in the Congo, he changed his position. And instead of thanking Rwanda and Uganda, he began to realize that Uganda and Rwanda was exporting more minerals from the Congo out of their country than they were, than the Congo itself was exporting, even though Uganda and Rwanda didn't have those minerals. So they were directly taking it from the Congo to their country and then exporting it from their country. So he organized an army in which the United States then decided, when he decided that Uganda and Rwanda had to leave the Congo, Bill Clinton started his second war in 1998. Now let's go to Haiti. Every time you hear the news reports about Haiti, you say Haiti is the poorest country in this hemisphere. News bulletin. When I was down there last year in January, right after the earthquake, I was in the DR and I ran into, at the hotel, I ran into some gentlemen who were talking about Haiti, and so it caught my ear, so I kind of invited myself into the conversation, only to find out that the people I was talking to were geologists. My first question to them was, whoa, you came down to study the earthquake? Nope, we were here during the earthquake. Okay. Then my second question was, is this your first time in Haiti? Oh no, we've been coming back and forth to Haiti for 5 years. Okay. Well, where are you based? Houston, Texas. Who do you work for? ExxonMobil. It's estimated that Haiti has more oil than Venezuela. At the same time, I got my hands on a feasibility study done by a company out of Colorado. I'm not sure if you may be aware of this, but the U.S. Mapping Agency, run by the U.S. government, their satellites are capable of predicting where oil is located, where different minerals are located, etc. And this company out of Colorado bought one of the maps on Haiti and saw an area in Haiti that looked like it had potential gold. So they kind of quietly went into Haiti and did what is called core testing. And in their report, they came out with an estimate of the amount of gold they thought was in that piece of property, which happened to be over $1 trillion. But Haiti's poor. Now, what has happened since the earthquake? Well, here is the picture of the U.S. Embassy in Haiti that I took in 2008. The previous embassy didn't have a staff of 60 people. Now they have an embassy that has a capability of staff of over 2,000. It is the fourth largest U.S. embassy in the world. They spent over $200 million to build it in Haiti. But Haiti's poor. One has to ask the question. In fact, the driver that was bringing me in from the airport, when I told him that I felt that when I saw the embassy that the United States was probably going to invade the country in 2 years, his first question was, why would you say so? I said, do you think they're going to build this building right here to give you visas to come to the United States? Or you think they got that building there because they want to control your country and they need that much room to control it? When you look at what's going on in Haiti today, I'm going to try to quickly summarize on this. One, you have a former U.S. president by the name of Slick Willie Clinton, Bill Clinton, who, quote unquote, had a contact in the State Department who got him nominated to the UN as the chief liaison officer to Haiti. I wouldn't know who he knows in the State Department, but nonetheless, and he would volunteer. Here's a guy who made on an average $10 million a year since he's been out of the White House. Now he's going to go and work full time as a volunteer in Haiti. And he's going to try to make us believe it's because he had his honeymoon in Haiti. Fact is, the United States has been planning for quite some time to take over Haiti. Different things have been getting in the way, but nonetheless, now they think they're in the right position to make their move. Not only are they planning on robbing the minerals out of Haiti, as I mentioned gold and I've mentioned the oil, but Haiti also has uranium and it has copper. But they also want to use Haiti as the largest sweatshop in this hemisphere. And so the game plan is to restructure Haiti. Well, it will probably be mostly tax-free enterprise zones. And then with those tax-free enterprise zones, they will threaten the economies of other countries in the Caribbean and Latin America, that if they don't want to play ball and drive the labor costs down, yes, drive the labor costs down, then in return, they will then pull factories out of those countries and bring them to Haiti, causing an economic crisis where then they support the opposition of those governments and then use them to win the election to come down and use their military and their police to drive the labor costs down. Why? Because the United States wants to get its factories out of China. And they know that they've had a history of being able to have military presence throughout Latin America and the Caribbean, where they will not have military presence in China. And so this is a game plan cooked up between the United States, in particular Canada and France, to use the people of Haiti to exploit their mineral wealth and their labor wealth. But the point is that the problem the U.S. has consistently run into in Haiti is that Haiti is very well organized. And because it is very well organized, no matter how well the U.S. make their plan to do their thing in Haiti, it seems to get messed up over and over and over again. But what Haiti needs the most is for us to take more interest in what's going on there, and for our organizations and our movements to link up and give support to their movements there on the ground. Because it's a way where we can help them and they can help us. One of the things that a lot of people don't recognize, especially in Africa, United States and Europe do not sell their technology to Africa for the most part. So they leave Africa in a place where they can sell the raw gold, but they can't refine the raw gold. Where they can sell the copper or the raw iron or cobalt or coltan, but they can't process it. Where they have the bauxite, but they can't make aluminum. But we can buy that technology. We could make it available to our brothers and sisters in Africa. And the difference is this. Gold market today is around about $50,000 a kilo. But if you process the gold, it turns into $300,000 a kilo. That's why Europe is rich and Africa with the gold stays poor. We could change that. We could actually do things that bring that technology in which we can link up with our movements back and forwards in Africa, wherein, in fact, we could generate enough resources not only to benefit their struggle for independence and liberation, but our struggle here as well. So I would suggest that if we should step back and really reevaluate our relationships with those two countries because of their key position in being able to spark and support struggles throughout their regions. The Congo throughout Africa and Haiti throughout the Caribbean and Latin America. Thank you very much.